Welcome back to another Living Connected for 11 minutes-ish video. And this time I'm going to talk about how I wasn't born with the ability to talk to dead people. I wasn't seeing deceased relatives or loved ones sitting at the foot of my bed, giving me loving messages. That just didn't exist in my world. But then I found out that everybody can learn how to connect with people across the veil, and this is what it's like. I found out through Suzanne Gieseman's teaching that everybody can learn to live more connected across the veil. She's a world-renowned evidential medium, but she wasn't born with the ability to connect that she was aware of. So with her sharing her story, it helped open me up to the possibility that I could do the same. And because I have a daughter across the veil, that's all I wanted. I wanted to be able to connect with her. I wanted to be able to talk to her again and to receive messages from her. So I was in. Once I found out that you could learn how to do it, I thought, we'll see what happens. So I took the training. We started practicing on people. This was all online. So we're practicing on people that are in the class, like outside of class. So you would partner up and just, get their email or get their instant message, and you would just tune in away from them, see what you could get, and then send them the message. And the very first one that I did, we were just supposed to be tuning into their lifestyle, not even to their deceased loved ones, just the person that you're connecting with. What do they do for their job? Where do they live? And I was receiving visuals. I would see someone sitting in a cubicle on a computer, and then I would see her walking through a park holding hands with her spouse and a pet, and that they lived right next to the park in an apartment. I would see all of this and I would send it to her, and she would say, yeah, that's all right. And it was just blowing me away. It's like, how is that possible? And then it was during that practice with someone else that I all of a sudden felt an arm, kind of like a presence over my shoulder. So my eyes are closed. I'm just tuning in, trying to figure out where she lives and stuff about her. And all of a sudden it was like this loving energy around my shoulder. I don't even know how to describe it, besides all I knew is that it felt very fatherly. It just felt like love from a dad, and it felt like an arm over her shoulder. And then I saw these shoes. I was trying to figure out what was going on with these brown shoes. Anyway, so I sent that to her, and I didn't know what that meant. And she wrote me back and said, you cannot believe how special that is to me. Her dad had passed away a few months earlier. That's why she was taking the class. She really wanted to feel more connected to him. The night before, she thought that she felt him put his arm over her shoulder. And she was like, was that you, Dad? And then I sent her the message the next day, which was confirmation for her. She was also looking for his shoes that she found. She had just found them in a box right before I sent her that message, and that was a really meaningful thing to her. So all of that confirmed for her that he's still existing, he's still right beside her, he knows about the shoes, he really did put his arm around her. And for me, it was just, I couldn't believe that happened. Like, I came out, told him it's real. I really just did it. I don't even know what I did. I didn't mean to. I wasn't even trying to tune into her loved one across the veil. It just happened. And I thought, it just opened up my heart and my mind to, not only is this real, I already knew that the connection could happen. I just didn't know that it could happen with me. And so after that, then I started connecting with a lot of people in the class and doing readings for them. And there was a woman whose son had passed away, and he came through, and I saw how he passed. I saw that, so many details about his life that I could have never known. And in fact, the way that I tapped into the woman that I was doing the reading for, her energy was so positive and so beautiful. She was sitting next to what felt like her best friend on the couch, and they were drinking tea or coffee, and they were watching TV and I could see the Christmas tree up in the living room. It all just felt really happy. And then I knew that she had a son across the veil, and I thought, no, I must be making this up because this woman's so happy. It turned out, yeah, she was sitting there with her daughter who was back visiting her. They were watching Christmas movies together. They were drinking coffee and tea, kind of taking turns with what they were drinking. The Christmas tree was right there, and she says that she hadn't felt that happy in a long time because she thinks of her daughter as her best friend. So she's sitting right next to her, and so I was like, this is all just so cool. And then her son came through and with details, but I mean, down to I saw a goldfish, like a cracker goldfish, and I couldn't quite piece it together, but it turns out that she had just given his goldfish tank to another relative in the family, and that had just happened. So there were all these experiences that I was having that I couldn't deny any longer. Before, when I was feeling more connected with Kenadie or doing meditations where I was connecting with my own guides or connecting with angels, I could really, coincidence all that away or say that I was making it up in my mind.
Yeah.
But this I could no longer deny. There was something really happening. I was really connecting with these people. And then, so I'm telling you about all of this, and you were pretty blown away.
Yeah.
By what was happening. It was, I mean, it happened, I think I did readings at that time, maybe for 5 or 6 people, and connected with their deceased loved ones every single time with validation. I wasn't always spot on. It wasn't 100%. There were some things that they couldn't connect or couldn't, so then I would go to the next thing. And so it wasn't like, oh, wow, I was just so perfect at this. No, but there was enough evidence with each one to prove that I really had connected with their loved ones across the veil. And I'm telling you about it, and then you asked me to do a reading for you. And that was the one that I was most nervous about. The strangers I was nervous about. But then Shane asked, and I was even more nervous because I think it was just there was more on the line. Because I felt like I wanted to believe in my heart that I was connecting with Kenadie. And I wanted Shane to believe in his heart that I was connecting with Kenadie. And so if she couldn't come through with evidence to prove that it was really her, then I was going to be very disappointed, and I didn't want to disappoint him or make him sad, so I was worried about all of that. And then I did the reading for you.
Yeah, and she pretty much came through right away. And like the first thing she said, we were asking for evidence, that this is really her and whatever. And she said that I had dreamt of her. And at the time, I didn't remember dreaming of her. So it was like, no, I don't. I remember then it just came to me kind of all of a sudden, I did. I did dream of her, and I completely forgot. I have a hard time remembering my dreams most of the time. Sometimes they'll come to me days later, was that a dream? I remember I had a dream about this or that. And I did dream about her, and it was I had completely forgotten. So,
and you hadn't had a dream. So
no, and I hadn't.
At this point it was, I think 2.5 years after Kenadie had passed, I believe. And he hadn't dreamt of her, and I had multiple dreams.
Yeah.
So when she came, I said, she was bringing all these messages through that were really loving messages. We were both bawling, and we were appreciating the messages, but then I said to her, you promised me evidence, because I told her I would do a reading for her dad, but only if she came through with evidence. And that was going to be harder to do, because what could she bring through that we both didn't already know about?
Right.
And so I was like, you're going to have to get creative, but bring through evidence. So in the middle of this reading, I tune in and I tell her, now's the time, I need evidence now. And she said, he dreamt of me. And I said, no, he didn't. And I'm not going to say that. Yeah,
because I hadn't told her that I had, and I would have told her if I had, but I didn't remember that I had until she mentioned it. And it was like, oh yeah, I did. I remember.
And I felt like it was hurtful that I had dreams of her, and I would tell him, and he wanted me to tell him about the dreams, but I could tell that it also made him sad because he didn't get to see her in the dreams.
Yeah, because you just want to see them, when they're not here anymore. So
yeah, and so she goes, he dreamt of me, and I was like, no, he didn't, and I'm not saying it. And then I said, so give me something else, and she said, he dreamt of me, and it was just, I believed her, and I thought, or I promised her that I would believe her. And of course, I just was worried that I was making something up.
And it would have been really easy for you to not say it because you thought like if he would have told me.
Yeah.
So.
But I promised her before the reading that I would say whatever came through, and so I said it. And then, and the look on your face, it only took him a moment. You didn't say it out loud, like, no, I didn't. You got this look on your face, like, and then you go, and your eyes got all big, and you go, I did.
Mm-hmm. It just all came back to me.
Yeah, and it had just been that morning, right before you woke up, I think, or shortly before you woke up. So it all came kind of rushing back to you.
Mm-hmm.
But
there were other things too, but with her, but it was pretty obvious right off the bat that it was her, and I knew it, and then my grandpa came through, and my grandpa, like Rachel didn't know my grandpa before he had a stroke, and like when he was younger, he was kind of a bit of a wild man, a little bit, kind of rowdy, ornery guy, funny though, and she didn't really get to see that side of him. When he got older, he wasn't as much like that. When even before the stroke, once he kind of got close to retirement age and stuff, but he still had a rowdy side to him a little bit. But he came through, and it was like no doubt that it was his personality. And like she was riding she thought it was in a truck with him, and there was country music playing, and it was like kind of like a rowdy feel, and she didn't know that he was a big country music fan, and there was some like Swisher Sweet type cigar type things like in the ashtray or in the truck. Were they in the truck?
I just saw him like up on the dash.
On the dash, like sitting there or whatever, and he did smoke something like that when I was pretty young. Like I don't remember what kind they were for sure, but I remember his rig with the little cigarillo things in them or whatever they were called. And so at first she thought it was a truck, and then she's like, well, show me what kind of vehicle that we're in or whatever. And I knew growing up, like he always had a Plymouth Trail Duster, and he was into like Bronco Trail Duster, that type of a rig, like the old school before they called them SUVs or whatever you want to call them, like the full size, like Blazers, Broncos. But he had a Plymouth Trail Duster, and he showed her that he showed her that rig, what he showed her. She didn't know what it was. But it was two-tone. I think it was red and white, if I remember right. And so she said, we're in like a Blazer or something. It has two-tone. I'm like, yep, that was him. The country music blaring and the cigars and
I didn't know any of that. So it was really cool.
She didn't know. That was when I was a little kid. I mean, by the time I was 8 years old, I don't think he had that rig anymore, but after that, he had more similar vehicles. He had a Chevy Blazer that was green and white, two-tone. So it's like that was his jam, was like two-tone, full-size SUV type rigs like that. But it was obviously him. It was like his personality. And it's kind of cool because their personalities come through even from the other side. Like that's how she recognizes who they are sometimes, because their energy, even before you see them, you just know who it is because you can kind of feel their energy because you knew something about them.
And it's comforting because we don't want to think of your grandpa on the other side as this perfect angel.
Right.
I want to think of him as he was like swearing and he was saying things that were so hilarious and so inappropriate that he was going, what is he saying? I was laughing so hard that I had tears streaming down my face. I couldn't catch my breath to tell him what his grandpa was saying. And his grandpa was laughing. Like, just thinking about it makes me laugh. His grandpa was laughing so hard on the other side, and I was feeling that energy. And then I would finally get out what he'd said, and you were like, that's him.
100%.
Because I would go, would he really say that? He was like, yeah.
And our family has a special place where we have a cabin in the state where we live, but it's like 6 hours away from where we actually live. So, and the reason we have that place is because my grandpa and my grandma had a place over there, and I went over there when I was a kid, and my mom and dad and stuff throughout the years went over there off and on and stuff. And so my dad and stepmom ended up buying a place there too. So that's in our family now. So anyway, one of the things that came through is he was there at the river with Kenadie, and they were fishing, and it's like, that's what he did over there, and this was, how did the Salem thing come about exactly with it?
So I could see Kenadie standing right next to her grandpa, or his grandpa, her great grandpa. And then it was like the camera panned out, and all of a sudden there was this little boy that was standing next to her. And I said to you, is there another child in the family that passed? Like, did your grandpa lose a son or something? And you said, not that I know of. I don't know of anybody yet. And then, do you remember what he said?
Yeah.
So I didn't know who this little boy was.
Mm-hmm. And he basically said that it was our son, right?
Well, he said what he said was, he's a good one, just like you. So that's what I guess that's how we put it together, that he said, he's a good one, just like you. And so then it was just like, oh my gosh, because at that point you had other signs that we were going to have a little boy at some point, even though it wasn't really in our plan at the time. So yeah, there was Kenadie and my grandpa and a little boy we didn't know. And my grandpa said, he's a good one, just like you, or just like him, or whatever. Yeah, because he was talking to me.
You,
so he was like, he's a good one, just like him, talking about Shane. And I was just sitting there, I go, oh, it's our little boy. Mm-hmm. And I'd already, it was funny that I didn't recognize him, because it was supposed to happen like that.
Yeah.
We were supposed to have that moment together.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was almost like his grandpa was introducing Shane to our son.
Yeah, and that was, a year or two before he was born?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, so that all happened, and it was like, well, that's no doubt it's him. And then my grandma came through, not my grandma that was married to that grandpa, my other grandma, my dad's mom. And she was sitting in a car, and Rachel could tell that this was like way back in the day, and she felt like her pride in this car, and how she felt free, and
she felt beautiful,
and all these things were coming through, and the energy was just so like free and magical and beautiful, and she didn't know what kind of car it was. She could tell it was like a bigger car of some kind, an older car, and your first thought was like a Cadillac. Mm-hmm. And so she's like trying to get evidence, like, well, what kind of car is it? And then Alan Jackson popped in your head. Mm-hmm. And you're like, Alan Jackson, like, what the heck, And
I ignored it.
Yeah, she ignored it, because like, well, that's a random, like my grandma in a big fancy car back in the day, feeling beautiful. And then Alan Jackson, Yeah. And so she's like, I don't know where that came from. So anyway, that kind of all happened, and then.
So I wasn't able to place the car.
Yeah, the car.
Like
was
what type of car?
What type or whatever. You had the
Mm-hmm.
color though, right? Like you knew it was blue,
mm-hmm.
a blue car.
I believe so.
I think it's been a while, but he had the color, and that it was a big car, and that my grandma.
It was Cadillac.
Cadillac. She it looked like a big Cadillac.
Yeah, but she told me, it was like, no,
not a Cadillac.
No, not a Cadillac.
Alan Jackson.
Alan Jackson.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so the fact that I didn't put two and two together.
It seems so obvious
so,
now.
So obvious.
But then anyway, after that, she checked in with my dad and asked if he remembered a car.
And at first he didn't.
Yeah, at first he was like, I don't know.
He remembered like an old station wagon thing. I was like, no, this car she felt beautiful in. She thought it was so cool. Mm-hmm. She's just like sitting out in the... Yeah. Well, I thought she was driving, and your dad was confused because she didn't have her license at that time.
Yeah.
So he was like, no, she never drove. And then, do you remember what he said?
That she would just go out and sit in the car.
Yeah, all of a sudden it came to him. Yeah. There was this car that they had, and she loved it so much that she would just go sit out in the driver's seat of the car and just sit in the driveway in this car because she loved it so much. And your dad had totally forgotten about this car. Yeah. And I said, do you remember? I go, it wasn't a Cadillac, right? Because I picked up that it wasn't. And he said, no. Do you remember what he said?
He said it was a Mercury.
Yeah. He goes, it was a Mercury. And I went, Alan Jackson. And he was like, what?
I'm gonna buy me a Mercury and cruise it up and down the road. Alan Jackson song. So, like, that's how it works. You know what I mean? Like, there's my grandma and a big car. What kind of car is it? A Cadillac? No. Alan Jackson pops in.
Yeah. That's what communicating across the veil is like. These thoughts, and sometimes it's like you hear something in your mind, but it's coming through as a thought, even if it's in their tone, or like your grandpa was like, his voice was all kind of raspy when he was talking, and I could feel all of that and hear it, but at the same time, it's just my own thoughts. So it's confusing because it feels like you're making it all up.
Yeah. And one thing too, like when I was talking about the personalities of people coming through, is you've had other people there, and they were people who were a little bit more quiet while they were here, and you like felt their presence, and they would kind of pop in quietly to let you know that they're there, but they weren't sitting in the Mercury or, you know, driving the rig down the road with the cigars and the country music blasting, you know what I mean? So it's like, and that's how those people lived their life when they were here, you know what I mean? And that comes through with these two, and it's kind of cool. Like my other grandpa has showed up, which I never met him. He passed away before I was even born. He passed away when my dad was a senior in high school. But he's come through too, but quietly. And all the stories I've heard about him is that he was like the kindest, like kind of a quieter guy, like always would give his last nickel to help somebody, probably to a fault, you know? And that's the energy that comes through with him when he's been there, you know?
Yeah, but he's not big and loud and...
Yeah, that's just not who he was. But you can feel his energy, and it's like, you just know, you just kind of know who he is, or like what kind of person he was by the energy. So it's kind of cool, because I always wished I had met him. And so I kind of feel like I kind of have a little bit through you, just from him popping in, and like, I know he's here. I know he's probably listening to this right now, and you know, so. Yeah.
And that's what's neat. So when you open yourself up, and because you don't have to be a medium to open yourself up to living more connected. If you feel the nudge, that's how it happens. They bring memories of yours through that help you connect to the experience that they're trying to get across, or to the word that they're trying to get across. Like Alan Jackson popping up into some, like, I grew up on country music. I grew up on Alan Jackson country music. So the fact that I didn't put two and two together is kind of ridiculous, but the way that it ended up happening was special too.
Yeah.
But that visual would not come through to somebody that grew up on rap music. They wouldn't drop Alan Jackson in their mind, because that would be pointless. Yeah, they wouldn't even know who Alan Jackson was.
Yeah, they know that you don't know. That they're trying to put puzzle pieces in front of you that, like, you know, you can identify.
It's like learning a brand new language, because the way that you communicate is different than any way that we do here. And so the more that you do it, the better you get, because now that would always be something that I could reference. So if I'm trying to come up with a word and a music artist pops into my mind, I'm going to think about some of their top songs and see if any of that makes sense, because that's one way that they can get a message across. And so it's just a really unique experience. It's really beautiful. If I can do it, everybody can do it, literally. Because I was not.
And most of the time too, like, I don't know if it's ever happened, but it's not them talking to you in their voice, like, all the time. Like when my grandpa said that he's a good one, just like him, or whatever. It's not like they can always say stuff like that. Like my grandma didn't say, it's a Mercury, you know.
Yeah, it's weird, because sometimes a whole sentence will come through like that. And then you're like, why can't you just say Mercury?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't know. I'm just kind of there for whatever pops through. And it's really a really neat experience. But what we're going to show next is there's a woman inside the 411 community that participated in a gallery reading that was inside the community. We invite mediums into the space occasionally to do readings for the whole group. We've only done one so far, but we have somebody else lining up, and we're going to do that because these messages are healing to people who are grieving and want to have that connection with their loved one. They want proof that their loved one is still here. They want evidence that they are right beside them still. And so we are happy to help provide that. And so the next thing that we're going to show is a video from someone inside the community that participated in a gallery reading with someone named Kimberly Howcroft. She's an evidential medium that's fantastic, that I've worked with, and I adore her. You can look her up on Instagram or Google her. She did a gallery reading, and the woman had such a profound experience that she reached out to me and said, how can I share this? I want other people to know that this stuff is, life-changing. And it was so healing to her heart because she was missing her mom so much. It gets me emotional. So we're going to let her share her experience. And that's what's really awesome, is that there's a lot of things inside the community that are there for anybody to try, but you don't have to do any of it. You can try where your heart leads you to, but everything that's in there are things that helped us to live more connected. So the mediumship stuff that's in there is in there because of these moments that I got to have and you got to have with Kenadie.
Yeah. And it's not just for people who are grieving too. I think we all have questions about what happens after we die and fear about death and things like that. And not only has it helped me with my grief, but it's also helped me not be afraid of death or have so many questions about it. And I think that's really valuable too, because I think when you're not in fear of what happens after we go, you're not dreading it as much, or you're not as afraid of it. I think it allows you to live more peacefully probably in your life, because you just kind of feel like, well, it's not going to end, after this. It just changes. I'm going to leave here and I'm going to go there and I'm going to see those people.
For me, it lets me live this life more fully because I'm not worried about the other stuff. So there's not that fear mixed up in it, but also maybe because I am living more connected, I think about that more. And so it's like, I know how short this time's going to be. And I want the experiences that I'm having here to be as beautiful as possible.
Yeah.
And that's because of the connection that I have.
And you want to take advantage of your time in this life as much as you possibly can. And it helps you appreciate the things that are happening here, because they're such human experiences and it's all part of your journey. It's like, you're going to get through the bad things, and you're going to have lots of great things. So that helps too.
Yeah. So anyways, we're going to let the video end with her sharing her story, because that is really cool.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. And this video is from our community that we have set up. And if they want to check that out, they can go to 411together.com and read more about it. And I guess that's it for us, huh?
Yep. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I wanted to share a very special connection story with you. I lost both my mom and my soul dog in 2025. I was devastated having to go through the grief of losing them both. When my dad died 12 years ago, I believed that he sent my soul dog to me to help me with my grief. Well, I thought for sure my dog would be around when my mom died to help me in the same way. But he died in April, and my mom passed away in December. Fortunately, I found Rachel and Shane in the 411 community, and I've been able to get signs from them and know that my connection with them can continue. But it wasn't until recently when I received an incredible validation from my sweet mom, from Kimberly, the Starlit Medium, who did a gallery reading on the 411 community just a couple weeks ago. When my mom passed, she was afraid of dying. She didn't want to talk about it. And I knew the only way to get through to her was with this beautiful piece of music that I had heard just that day, the last day I saw her. And I played it for her, and I told her, this is what heaven's going to be like. It's going to be beautiful. And she nodded and smiled, and I know she understood, but I didn't know if it was really going to make a difference to her. Well, I kissed her, told her I loved her, and that I would see her the next day. And she passed in her sleep that night. So I just had to hope that she had a peaceful passing and that the music helped her, but I really needed that validation. And I had gotten a few signs from her, but never that validation about that specific song. Well, when I had the gallery reading with Kimberly, the first thing she said is, your mom's talking about the music that was playing in the room. And I knew exactly what she was talking about. Kimberly said she wanted to thank you and your sister for helping her not only have a beautiful death, but a beautiful life. She said, what a thing it is to be at the end of your life and to be held by the people you brought into this world. What a validation. It was absolutely amazing. And I'm so thankful, not just to Kimberly, the Starlit Medium, but to Rachel and Shane and the 411 community. They've brought so many people together and helped us to realize that the connection doesn't end when your loved ones die, and the relationship doesn't have to end either. Kimberly actually said, my mom said to be listening, because that voice in my head that I hear that I think is her, it's her. So now my relationship with my mom and my soul dog continue. Thank you so much, Rachel and Shane.